Hello, hello. How's everyone doing?
Hey Shane, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Not too bad.
What you been up to?
Trying to learn this stuff, man.
You looking at any deals this week?
I'm running some tired landlord stuff, and I've got a lady I've been chasing in Greenville, North Carolina that I've been trying to get pinned down, but she's flighty.
That happens.
It does.
Hired landlord list, that's a good one.
Hopefully.
Are you just calling
Yeah,
or text messaging or
all of the above.
all the above?
Yep.
One of these days we'll have to get somebody on who's doing that and show us some tips and tricks.
I might be able to share frustration. We'll see. To be determined.
As I was explaining to some people this week, I love real estate. All about it. There's 1,000 different ways to look at everything,
Yep.
but it's filled with such high highs and low lows, and sometimes they're the same day.
Yes.
So,
Yes. There's always tomorrow, though. That's what I keep telling myself.
there's always tomorrow. That's great.
Tomorrow's new.
Best we can do is every day act with the best integrity that we can and be positive and move forward.
Yep.
Jane, the man of the hour just arrived.
Oh, that's too much pressure. I'm gonna leave now.
Oh my God. I haven't seen you. I don't think I've seen your face, your lovely face all year. And the year just started.
I know. And last time I saw it was probably November, I think, right? Or-
I know. Well, I saw you in Phoenix.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was
I
cool though.
know.
Really cool to see you guys.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? How you doing?
Ben, hey, how are you doing, sir?
Fantastic. Thanks for asking. It's a good day.
I think this is going to be a large Zoom, Kent. So I think people will just keep joining in because we've had a lot of action on it.
Sure. I mean, I'm just happy to help whoever's here. Doesn't matter. Big or small crowd. I just want to help everybody here on the call. What do you guys usually talk about during these Zooms? This is like a special Zoom, or you guys always have like somebody that joins these ones?
We've been every week we kind of bring on a special guest and we always try to pick a different topic.
Love it.
And it's been a little bit of everything and just kind of following the lead from what everybody says they want to hear and do and see. And then Cindy always says, "Ooh, I know somebody for that." So
Cindy, the master networker.
Cindy is the connector.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm trying
Shane,
to keep up with Tech Chang.
Tech is all over the place. I feel like he's flying all the time.
And we have all sorts of people within our group. It's all over the board. We have some people who are just trying to figure this out and trying to figure out how to fit into real estate. And they don't know if it's wholesaling or buy and hold or fix and flip, long-term rentals, short-term rentals. And there are some people in here that are very seasoned and they're involved and trying to learn how to do what they do better, try to learn something new. So we'll get plenty of different questions fielded all night. But that's why we're here. We're here to learn from experts like you and learn something new and network. I always encourage everybody to reach out. Everybody that's in the chat. It's a great place to learn and get other support. So
I love that.
Hey, Kent, will you in the chat, will you drop your YouTube link?
Oh, yeah, I can do that. Thank you.
Everyone join or follow, subscribe.
Yeah, let me pull that up really quick. That'd be really cool.
well, he is adding that. I just want to say thank you for everybody showing up tonight. Cindy and I really appreciate it. We work hard all week getting all the things done. And then we love to come here and see everybody's smiling face and hear what's going on. And it just is perfect for the week. So appreciate it. It's been a very interesting week, hasn't it, Cindy?
It has, it definitely has.
Lots of high highs and low lows, and it's been a
Yep.
up and down. But all in all, we're moving forward with some really cool projects we'll be sharing with the team shortly.
Sorry, I'm just lagging a little bit on my computer. I think I have too many screens open. 1 second.
Oh, I'm guilty of that all the time.
Well, I was trying to load up all the screens so I can like have everything ready to go for you guys. So then it just ended up being too many screens. Go figure. Here we go. I'm gonna pick a good one for you guys so you guys can just take a look at it and listen to it.
That says, hey, how many you want to build?
Boom, boom, boom,
Excellent.
boom.
Appreciate that.
All right.
So if you don't mind, give everybody a quick background on who you are and what it is you do. What's your expertise? How'd you get from, where you were to where you're at now? And give us the,
Sure.
Yep.
Let's go. Let's go ahead and get started. So just so everyone knows, my name is Kent. I live in San Diego. I'm originally from Boston. I moved to San Diego so I can talk to strangers without any sort of judgment. So that's why I moved to Southern California. So I welcome all questions from everybody. I love talking to strangers. So please ask me as many questions as possible today, because I'm really here to help you guys. Most importantly, learn how to look at deals specifically for short-term rentals. My goal and passion is really in affordable housing. So if you go to my YouTube channel, having grown up in low-income housing, my goal and my passion is trying to provide low-income housing for the next generation and for social workers, nonprofits, and EMTs, since I used to be an EMT myself. Did that for 5 years, making starting off at $12 an hour. I was very proud when I left it at $15 an hour, but I was answering 911 calls, and I don't think anyone's going to answer 911 calls the next time another pandemic hits for $15 an hour. But this is for our kids, so that's why I'm doing it. I want to give these people in these giving professions a great home to live in without having to think about, I got to leave my job because I want to put my kids in good school in a good school district. That's my passion. A little bit about my background here, and I came from a corporate consulting, management consulting background where I helped a lot of folks, Fortune 100 companies, buy and integrate companies, and actually how do you bring two companies together after you buy them, right? So that's one of my careers. I left that job trying to start my own bakery, helping my cousin with a restaurant. My cousin was losing about $20,000 to $30,000 a month, and I helped them turn it around. I got them back to break even, and I said, all right, cool, I'm done. I did something that I never thought I was going to do, but I turned it around, and it helped me prove to myself like I can do a lot of things in my life. But I lost all the liquidity, so I had to go back to corporate America, where I worked in an insurance company. And part of me working in an insurance company, I helped like a startup division within that company basically scale 10x from about 7.5 million to about $80 million in gross revenue in about 4 years. I was in charge of leading the technology team, helping them pick out the vendors, building out the team, building out the data support, and ultimately doing what you guys commonly hear about, like ChatGPT. That seems to be the biggest buzzword. But I was working with data scientists, machine learning engineers, developers, data infrastructure people, and leading a team of about 45 people to actually create something where basically if you call into their call center nowadays at this insurance company, they will basically know how much you're worth. Meaning when you call in, I pull public data, I think you're worth $100, so I'm gonna sell you off as a lead instead. Or I think you're worth $1,000, and I'm gonna keep you on the phone so my sales reps can actually sell to you. All that is enabled from clean data, meaning I did a big data cleanup project. So how do you run your operations while cleaning data up and while you're still able to pay everybody's paychecks? So that's why I had such a big data background. And one of my last things I did for that company was I helped them develop an app. I launched it in Brazil, Chile, and Thailand, where we are able to take photos of your odometer, your car odometer, and get an insurance quote instead of having to answer so many questions. So basically repurposing your mobile check deposit technology towards getting an insurance quote. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I knew all this stuff wasn't going to be for me. I wasn't going to keep any of it. They're probably going to sell it off for millions and billions of dollars. If anything, they're probably going to get things patented, but I was never seeing any of that. During COVID, I read a lot about real estate, and I decided that I want to create a portfolio of short-term rentals and long-term rentals dedicated towards affordable housing to create the perfect blend of portfolio strategy. So diversification from high cash flow, higher risk, balance that with government guaranteed rent, but maybe a little bit lower cash flow. But I get to help so many people at the same time. So that's kind of like my story. And I can just jump right into it if you want me to, Shane, and just like start.
Yeah, you got quite the background there, a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
And
I
we're gonna
did.
have a good deep discussion one of these days about AI and just the data that's available, whether it's real estate or just like you said, the background and access to that and speed of access to that really changes whole industries.
Oh, yeah.
It's fascinating technology and what's coming and what's here. But
And having worked in that
yes.
technology, I really understand like how that stuff really works. So I just get that there's still a lot of human intervention into it. It's kind of like the stuff that you guys look at ChatGPT and the responses that they give to you now.
Mhm.
Like I was in a background where people were literally scoring the responses, scoring the pictures, saying like, hey, this odometer is a 2020 Toyota Camry, yes or no. Someone actually is manually training the system. So that's why you can see it exponentially gets smarter in the AI machine learning world, because when you have data, but then you have reinforcement, that feedback loop in there, that's how things get really, really smart. And that's personally why I think Tesla is ahead of the game and from its full self-driving technology, because I just understand how that scale works exponentially. The more data that you have, the further ahead you are going to be than your competition. So, but today, to focus on short-term rentals, I'm trying to teach all of you guys how to use data to your advantage so that you guys don't lose money. That's really the most important part. A lot of times you guys will see people post about deals, talk about their deals and blah, 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 blah. And I always look at these deals and I'm like, I don't see how that deal will pencil. So sometimes people only talk about them buying a deal, but they don't actually share enough results about how their deal is performing afterwards. And I think that's something that's going to be really important for you guys to look at today. So
We've done some discussions about underwriting, but we really haven't ever focused on underwriting short-term rentals. So when you get into that, just kind of highlight some of the differences when you talk about when you're looking at a project and trying to figure out if it's going to pencil. How is that different than a regular rental?
Okay, sure. We'll do. I can do that. Could you give me sharing privileges? Just want to make sure I can share my screen.
That should do it.
There we go. Got it. You guys able to see my screen okay?
There you go. Yep.
All right, awesome. So just so you guys know exactly what I'm going to go through, and I'll share this Word document with you guys too, is first, we're going to talk about rental demand. I'm going to go over this outline really quick because we're actually going to do it. Then I want to make sure you guys know that you should look for whether or not it's legal to do so in a county or city. We're going to talk about geographical analysis, which is similar to what you guys might do from a comping perspective for a cash deal or a long-term rental. And then we're going to talk about how do you actually look at what are the benefits, what are the types of the properties that are the high performers in the market. We're going to try to look at who are you catering to in this market specifically to actually look at the data for that. And then finally, I'll show you guys like some of the market analysis outputs that I kind of put it together personally for myself, so you guys understand sort of what you're ultimately marching towards for your own comp and stuff. Now, just to kind of start at a very, very high level here, whenever I get sent a deal in Sub2 or in any other real estate communities, the first thing I do is I take that city or market, whatever it's called, and I come in here and I plug it into AirDNA. This is the only data point I use from AirDNA. And this data point is free. And I look at one, what is the rental demand? Meaning I want it to be at least 60 and higher, 60, because I have proven to myself that I have 2 properties in Scottsdale right now that are bachelorette themed. And if the market demand is there, then I will feel confident enough that if I have an above average product, then I can drive that traffic towards my home. Now, I want to show you guys one market that's really, really high, because you guys might be thinking like, oh, give me an example of a market that's actually really, really high. Here's one market I want to show you guys. This is called La Mesa. La Mesa is just east of San Diego. And in this market, I see a lot of macro things in its benefit, meaning San Diego just passed a lottery system that is going to halve the amount of supply or legal supply of Airbnbs from about 10,000 to about 5,000. What that's going to do is give you tremendous pricing power if you're a market outside of San Diego, because now you have all this demand running towards there. So a couple of things that work in this favor. One, San Diego supply is going down. Two, the rental demand is already really, really high in this market. Now, I want to show you guys Scottsdale just so you guys can see the number that I'm talking about really, really quick, assuming that this thing loads. Let's give it a quick second. And what you're going to see is right now it's at 7.0. It was a 6.9 yesterday, 69. But that's basically what you're looking for. But again, based on my historical experience, I can even show you guys like what I'm seeing on my calendar right now for my property. I can show you guys probably the one I bought first last year, so you guys can see some of the numbers you can get when you actually pull down towards boom.
Now, last map was quite interesting because not only wasn't really evenly spread over that, it was actually quite centralized in one portion of that map. So
Yeah,
not only is that area have a 70, but specifically in a certain area within that map. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So this is just something I want to share with you guys because I wish, not to brag, I literally just wish someone showed me way earlier in my life. This is my bachelorette home. You can see like last weekend I made $3,000 a weekend. This weekend is Super Bowl weekend, so I was making $6,000 a weekend. $3,900 next weekend, $4,200, $4,300, $3,600.
This is one place.
One place, correct? One place. One place, one home, and this is a bachelorette themed home, so 5,200. As you get into slow season, it does go lower, so I don't want to just show you guys like really high numbers. Like you do get down to like $1,000 a night. This one's probably about like $800 a night, roughly ish, 2,600 a weekend. So that's during slow season. So there is going to be a slow season, but last year during slow season, I was actually booked every single weekend. So for my property, and that was because I was very niche towards a bachelorette home. And just so you guys know what I mean by bachelorette home, I can pull it up for you guys really quick. This is how we decorated our home. We kind of decided on the color palette of the home to be one bachelorette theme, but I really wanted to put through a color palette leveraging some of that Tiffany blue color that you guys might know very commonly that's already associated with a lot of luxury. So we just wanted to kind of play off of that color or a different shade of that color, and combining that with the sunset, you kind of get the contrasting colors from a color wheel. So you guys ever learn about Disney princesses and why their princesses' dress colors are very different? This is why they want different colors, contrasting, so they can stop the scroll. So something for you guys to consider as you guys think about how to actually design my property. You need high contrast, something that will stop the scroll, because everyone's second attention span is like down to like 3 seconds now because of Instagram and TikTok and everything. But we kind of have like these things where you have like makeup bars, beauty bars, so girls can kind of get ready for their bachelorette trips, kind of going out. People tend to respond better to listings with lifestyle photo shoots. So I have some models going to that we just got photo sticking yesterday. So we're going to update our listing for the second property, hopefully within like a week or two, to continue promoting that property. Okay, so that's what I want to talk to you guys about rental demand. Why it's important to look for a minimum criteria, so you just quickly rule out any sort of markets with low rental demand, because why spend all that money furnishing your property if the market demand isn't there? You're fighting an uphill battle trying to get people into your house when no one really wants to go to that area, right? Don't do it. Don't waste that money. A bed's going to cost the same in general. A bed's going to cost the same in Scottsdale versus the cost in like Timbuktu or whatever. So it's just something for you guys to kind of keep in mind. Now, then obviously after demand is there and this is the market that you're interested in, Like you guys can still look for very basic stuff like population growth, job growth. If you're looking at a metro market, those fundamentals still apply to short-term rental markets because you want to be in a position where you can continue to get some more appreciation, right? It's still very, very good fundamentals. So the next thing I would do is one, make sure it's legal in that city and county, obviously, because you don't want to mess with investors' money if it's not legal to do so. Don't play the shady route. The third thing and third step that we want to get to is what I'm calling is the market dashboard. I use this website called pricelabs.co, and you guys can come in here and open up the market dashboard function. By going into the market dashboard function, you can kind of plug in an address, put in the kilometers, and out will spit out a market dashboard. I'm going to open this guy up. I already had it loaded to kind of save time for you guys here. What you're going to want to look at is as you get further and further away from a metropolis, from a downtown area, from the beach, from a national park entrance, they're trying to figure out, is there a cliff or drop off in revenue the further and further you get away? I kind of use the analogy with, I think Shane and Cindy before, but it's kind of like if you have kids and you're staying at a home that's 10 minutes from the beach, like that walk can feel like forever when you're tugging 3 or 4 kids. And don't ever listen to anybody that says, oh, it's only 5 minutes from the beach, it's going to do well. Or it's only 10 minutes from the beach, it's going to do well. What if all the high performers are on beachfront?
Yeah.
Then you're kind of out of luck there, right? So that's why it's so important for you guys to actually do this thing, what I'm calling a geographic analysis, which is basically you're just hovering over these numbers, okay? So if you look at my screen right now, you're going to see at the bottom of this red box where it says revenue past 365 days, you're going to see the number $320,000. That's how much this property has made according to Price Labs in the last year in terms of gross revenue. Here's another property for $420,000. But what you're trying to do is like, I'm trying to hover over to the east side now to see if there's a drop off in revenue because downtown and the beaches are over here on the left-hand side, on the west side. But I see some homes for $500,000. Wow, that's crazy. This home is $350,000. I've seen this one before. But what you're trying to do now is one, rule out any listing where you see the review count is less than 15. Okay. This is how Price Labs and AirDNA calculates revenue. Whatever the last nightly rate is for that property, and it gets blocked off all of a sudden, it counts as towards revenue. But think about it. If you're a new Airbnb host, you're trying to put something on Airbnb right away, but you're not really ready to get to guests yet. You might put it for like $1,000 a night, $2,000 a night, but then you block it off just so no one blocks it. No one books it again right away by accident. That will flow in here as revenue. So you would be overestimating revenue by relying on listings that don't have an established base. That's why it's important. Like Price Labs and AirDNA does not know what to owner block versus a real booking. It just makes that assumption. So that's something you got to be really, really conscious about when you guys look at this data so that you can go actually a level deeper. Now, going from this property, what you're going to ultimately want to do is obviously go through every single property, but I kind of add in down here from this comp set, I add in a few more data attributes. I add in base guests. So obviously if top performers all sleep 16 people, you better have enough beds to sleep 16 people. Bathrooms is a good one since ladies generally want at least 2.5 bathrooms compared to 2 bathrooms. Big difference for bachelorette homes. Listing type, so you can figure out, is it a cabin? Is it an apartment? Is it a townhome? You guys want to compare apples to apples there. Pets is a big one since everybody got a puppy during COVID, especially if you're a mountain market. It's something that you probably want to check out if the high performers all have something that accommodates pets. I then put in the hot tub and a pool, which is very, very, very common. Ultimately, what you're trying to do is export this data now, and you are trying to figure out, boom, going listing by listing, and I'll show you guys the end result first so you guys know what we're ultimately marching towards. Let's see if this thing loads as well. And closing one browser by one browser to kind of speed everything up. Bear with me here, guys. So, okay, it's a pretty good market that we're looking at. So this is the market in Charlotte. Somebody sent me a deal in Charlotte. I was like, okay, let me see what's going on in this market. What I'm trying to figure out is one, from a geographical standpoint, where are my 3-bedroom single-family homes in this neighborhood in Charlotte? Where are my 4-bedroom homes? Then where are my 3-bedroom homes? And then finally, where are my top performing properties in Charlotte? Because if I'm buying a home in one of these lower performing markets, I kind of have a 20% rule, unless I have some sort of very, very big grand plan to actually make that process a little bit better or justify the higher purchase price. So if I were to follow the 20% rule, meaning if I see a home here that's making $95,000, so just give or take, let's say it costs, let's just do $100,000 for easy math. I have a 20% rule where I say, if I have a $100,000 home for gross revenue, I don't want to pay more than $500,000 for that home for a purchase price.
All right.
Really good rule of thumb, because you want to understand whether or not it's actually legitimate or something like that, right? So if it's worth your time, then it passes that 20% rule, then you might take a little bit closer look at it. So I look at this property, I was like, okay, it's making 100 grand, and it's got a rooftop, it's got a hot tub on the deck, and it's like fairly modern. So you have to be asking yourself now, do I see anything in Charlotte that I can get that looks like this for under $500,000? It might be a resounding no, and you might be like, okay, I'm going to move on from this market now, because what I'm trying to save you guys is time. You guys will probably never get started short-term rentals. You waste all this time, you feel like you never find a deal. I'm trying to show you all the progression steps, just like a quarterback going when they're throwing a football, they're checking every single possible play. This is you going through every single possible step to quickly route things. If the market was never over 60, you would never even get to this point. You guys
Right.
get what I'm saying? There's no point. Like, why would you fight that battle? Why spend all the time analyzing a deal? You got to develop a process for yourself to quickly rule out properties. So that's
Ken,
20% rule. Go ahead.
when you're like looking at deals that are being sent to you, are they already Airbnbs, short-term rentals? Or are you looking at houses that you're going to convert into that market?
I get both, to be honest.
Get both.
I get deals that get sent to me that are current Airbnbs, which is even cooler, because then I can just take their Airbnb listing ID and then just go to Price Labs and then look it up, and then it'll pull it right up on what that property is making. But remember, right? A smart person, a smart seller, if they're trying to sell an existing Airbnb, they'll go in, they'll up all the prices, they'll block them all off, knowing that you're going to go into Price Labs and AirDNA to look at the numbers anyways.
Don't believe them, don't trust them.
Be wary.
Be
That's why
wary.
you got to look for comps. And you have to look for comps. I'm not saying a lot of people are smart like that, but if I was a seller, that's exactly what I would do, because I understand the data, right? And I just don't want anyone to kind of get caught in a bad spot like that. Now, for another market like Joshua Tree, I think I talk about this market every once in a while. I don't go as deep as the neighborhoods. I look at properties in Joshua Tree as isolated properties with no neighbors or pool, compared to properties that are in the neighborhood with a neighbor next to them, right? Completely different vibe. But if I look at the numbers, right, for gross revenue, I see that the lowest property here is about $150,000 for a home in Joshua Tree that's isolated by itself. So I might be willing to pay 5 times that, so $750. But if I look at other homes that do have neighbors next to them, that have 3 bedrooms and they have pools, but they have neighbors, they're looking at $80,000. I might not be willing to pay more than 400 grand for it. So that's how you quickly develop your criteria again as you guys are valuing these properties, because this gross revenue number is one of the most important numbers that you guys need to get, because that drives so much of the analysis of whether or not your property is going to be profitable. That gross revenue number is so important. And that's why, as you guys go through every single property and every single market, you guys have to determine how you guys actually going to separate all of these properties out. And by developing your own spreadsheet by market, you guys can quickly go back to the market in the future and just say like, oh, okay, so for all my properties in Black Mountain, here's all my properties without pools, or traditional homes, like drywall homes. Here's all my log cabins with no views. Here's all my log cabins with views. Here's all my traditional homes with views, right? This is the progression you have to go through to develop your market knowledge, so you can quickly go back and analyze the property if you ever need to do it. Again, just trying to save you guys all the time. I've done this 1,000 times. This is the best way to do it, because otherwise you're gonna drive yourself crazy. Because every single time someone sends you a deal, you're gonna be looking up every single time. Like it's not worth it.
Ken, when you're talking about a purchase price being 400,000 or 700,000, is that just the property, or is that the property with all the improvements, the furniture, the ambiance,
Just the purchase price of the property.
just the purchase price? Okay.
Correct. It's a good rule of thumb. I think if you are really trying to get started and really desperate to get started, you can use the 15% rule, so then you can have a higher purchase price just to kind of get things started, because who knows, you might be a high W-2 income earner and maybe buying a home for a little bit higher purchase price, but allows you to get that depreciation against your active income. Maybe that makes sense for you, right? Everyone's situation is a little different. But I know in sub 2, we learn about creative finance, and sometimes we get taught like it's about the payment, what you can do with it. But if you have investors and you're not trying to hold this forever and you've got to exit sometime, just remember there are other investors out there with a similar rule of thumb. So if you overpay way too much for a property and gross revenue would never go up above a certain point, you might be underwater when it comes time to exit. So just be really, really careful of that, and just understand like what are your goals personally, and how long you're going to hold it for. I think that's going to be really important.
When you talk exit strategies and you underwrite properties, some people say they have to look at Airbnbs as being able to underwrite as a long-term rental as well. But really,
Yeah.
the numbers really don't compare apples to apples, do they?
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
They're not even
I think you're
close.
going for a cookie cutter Airbnb, you might do that, but I would encourage all of you to play to win. Meaning, if you're going to do this, find a property that will stand out on its own. Because guess what? Even during a recession, the people with money are still going to travel. And if you have something that's more unique and that's cooler than all the other ones, you can just lower your rates and still be booked. You won't have the same problem as the cookie cutter Airbnbs where they just look very standard run of the mill, and they're going to be the ones that are empty.
Yeah.
I think you would much rather have a lower margin than be completely empty. So play to win. That's my recommendation there. And I'm gonna show you guys how to play to win. So
Hey,
here's
Kent,
the
real quick.
very go ahead.
Hey, Kent,
Go
real
ahead.
quick. How do you decide what niche you're going to go into for each of your properties? Because I think the bachelorette theme, I would never have thought of that. And that is pretty solid. I mean, that's pretty cool. So how do you
I
decide?
That great question. You just like literally teeing me up in the next part. So let me show you this then.
Okay.
So this spreadsheet right here, anywhere from the column R and to the left, that's just your export from price labs, what I just showed you guys, okay? Anywhere to the right, that's what I used to do manually, but I trained a virtual assistant to do this for me. Now, what she does is she goes through every single listing on this market dashboard. So this is the top 100 3 to 4 bedroom properties by gross revenue in Nashville, Tennessee. What she then does is she goes into every single listing, and then she actually comes down here first to the map and says, hey, what is the closest neighborhood in this market? So she would say, okay, this property is closest to Fisk/Meharry in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. Then the second thing she would do is she would go in here, and this I did this myself manually until I was like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm going crazy. She would come in here and type in how many times the word family or fam is mentioned. She'll come in and type in how many times the word bachelorette is mentioned, how many times the word girls trip is mentioned, girl or girls, and she will count them all up. She will also count up how many times the word location is mentioned, okay? No one does this. I guarantee if you guys just take this knowledge and go share it to someone, you guys will raise private capital, hands down.
Yeah,
I'm not even kidding. So now guess what we have? And I'm sorry, who asked that question? I didn't catch that. I didn't pop on my
it's
screen.
Deanna. It's
Oh,
Deanna.
okay, Deanna.
I mean, I'm just kind of blown away. I mean, I'm over here talking to myself while I'm on mute going, that's just pretty awesome. Yeah.
But guess what? Now what do you know, right? From the data, Deanna. You now
Yeah.
have neighborhoods of all the top 100 3 to 4 bedrooms in Nashville. You now know exactly how many times is the word family mentioned in the reviews for the top 100 listings. If you look down here, it's 372 times, okay?
Wow.
Then you look at how many times the word bachelorette is mentioned, and you see that on the bottom, it's
705.
705 times. So 705 divided by 1,077, that's over 70% of the drivers for bachelorette homes.
Wow.
I mean, for Airbnbs in Nashville are bachelorette groups. I'll tell you the number for Scottsdale when I first did this was 40%. So I thought I hit a gold mine until I found this market.
Wow.
So don't ever believe someone say, oh, I had a great girls trip. Don't believe that. Don't say I had a great bachelorette trip. Don't believe that. This is where you get the data. This is where you get the support. This is where you challenge people like, hey, show me exactly who are the people that are coming to this market. And this is the best way to do it. And again, just like I blew your mind away, you can now go blow someone else's mind away by teaching this and showing them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
so much.
and No problem. And just to take it a little bit further, right? I know that in Nashville, well, in Scottsdale, I knew there was the sweet spot was about 7 to 10 minutes away from Old Town Scottsdale, which is where the nightlife is. If you wanted to go take it further, I saw this bachelorette home and I saw that boom, it's 10 minutes from downtown. So I looked up how many times the word downtown is mentioned, and then I looked up how many times the word walk or walking or walkable is mentioned. So that I don't want to risk the chance of me buying a home that's 7 to 10 minutes away from downtown and no one wants to stay in my home.
Yeah.
But I thought this home made about $275,000 on initial glance, and none of the people mentioned that it was walking or walkable. So that gives me confidence to buy a home that's within 7 to 10 minutes of downtown Nashville, as long as it's a bachelorette home that can kind of commit to it. And I looked through all the market in Nashville, there's only like 10 bachelorette Airbnbs out of like 7,000 plus. What an opportunity. So I'm sharing this with you guys because I hope you guys all buy your own bachelorette Airbnbs in Nashville.
I love it. I just think that's super clever and smart.
It's very clever, yeah.
And that is how you decide to do it, okay? That doesn't mean you forget about the amenities, right? When you go through all these properties, like the one I showed earlier in this one, like this property was making $350,000 in San Diego. What you're going to try to figure out is like, well, maybe I have a home that's making 300 grand or 200 grand. And then you're like, how do I improve it? Well, look at the top performers and what they're doing. It's like, you might decide to spend 100 grand to put in a water slide in the backyard. I don't know, but make it based off of data. You might say, I want to renovate my my kitchen to look something like that. Well, what does a $350,000 home's kitchen look like? Right? You guys don't have to make this up. Get the design of a top performing property to a designer, to a GC, and say, hey, just do better than this. That's all you have to do. And I think that's where you guys can take a lot of that analysis paralysis out of the way, where you have data. Just look at what a top performer looks like and just always look for those non-negotiables. I know in La Mesa right now, I will not buy a property unless it's a big backyard without a pool, and it must have a backyard fit that faces either south or the west, so you actually see the sunset. I've looked at properties in here where if you don't have a sunset view or a grand view of the south or west, it's about $90,000 difference in gross revenue.
Wow.
You would have never noticed that if you didn't look into the data and actually go through the market and make all those notes. So that's why it's so important for you guys to figure out, like, what do I need to do? And obviously look at the top performers, but play to win. Do better than them. Make sure you have a view. Make sure you have more amenities. Make sure you have more lawn games. Whatever it is, just make people rave about your home. And nothing will guarantee you or protect your investment more than your 5-star reviews from that perspective. So again,
far,
far,
what's hot in one market may not be the hottest thing in another market. So you got to know what's trending in which area, right?
Exactly.
So what comes first, the market or the house?
I usually just depends on, ideally, if you're looking to buy a lot, the market first, because you want to know whether or not you're going to have resources in that market, because finding a very good cleaner is going to be the hardest part of your problem. You need to make sure there's enough pool of resources. Like for me personally, I have 3 handymen out there. And I'll tell you guys some of the issues that I ran into just 3 weeks ago. I spent a whole Saturday afternoon looking for an emergency pest exterminator because someone said they had a weird smell. I didn't know it was a weird smell. I thought something died in the wall, like a mouse or something like that. I spent 5 hours a day just looking for people trying to get over there on a weekend where nobody really wants to go over there. But like, if I wasn't in a big market, like I would have found 0 people in 5 hours instead of finding 1. But that's the type of resources that you need to have on hand, because you need to have good cleaners, multiple handymen, because things break all the time at short-term rentals. And you guys just need to have very, very dependable people that will show up when you need them to show up. And when you have a larger pool of resources, then your chances are a little bit higher. But keep your people like very, very incentivized to take care of you. Like I give all my cleaners a bonus every single time I get a 5-star review. So I align my interests with theirs, and I want them to succeed. I don't need to make a lot of money. I want them to also make a very, very good living working with me as well. So what I have done so far is we've looked at historical data, right? Just to kind of summarize where everybody is. We went through the rental demand for the market. We went through that it's legal or not. We went through a geographical analysis because we went from west side to east side and we didn't see a drop off in revenue based off of La Mesa. And that kind of makes sense, right? Remember how high the rental demand was for La Mesa? Makes sense. Go from east side, west side, no drop off because the rental demand was really high. That might not be the case in other markets. You just got to pay very, very close attention to it, especially if you're in a national park entrance like Yosemite in California. The further and further you get away from the national park entrance, people don't want to drive 2 hours to get to the national park entrance after already flown from internationally or something like that. So something for you guys to keep in mind. Now, what I want to do is talk to you guys about the future data. Okay, Price Labs, AirDNA, they all look backwards. How do you prevent yourself from making a mistake by not looking at the future data? So this is how I personally look at it. I use a tool, it's called RankBreeze, RankBreeze.com. And what I do here is I use it to, one, check for, hey, based off what my cover photo is and what my listing title is, what page am I ending up on Airbnb search results? Because obviously I want to be higher, right? No one ever goes to page 5 on Google search results. Same principle applies for Airbnb. You don't really want to go that far back. But what I then also do is I use it to price my Airbnbs because I want to make sure my Airbnbs are being comped against other batch-red Airbnbs because I want it to be apples to apples. I don't want my property to be comped against other 4-bedroom homes, even though they might not be bachelorette themed. Like girls are looking for a very specific theme for the bachelorette party. They want to have a memorable weekend, so you want to compare apples to apples. So if I'm pricing this weekend at $2,000 a night, I want to look at, hey, what does a 5-bedroom home bachelorette theme being priced at for this weekend? If it's way lower, then I better lower my prices if I'm not booked yet, right? Conversely, if I see a 3-bedroom home that's also very that's also lower, then I definitely have to beat their price, right? That's your pricing strategy of doing it. And then what you're gonna want to do is, sorry guys, my baby is having dinner, so she's a little rowdy. And then what you're gonna also want to do is look at other properties in the market and price it accordingly. But I use it to underwrite, meaning, hey, I just made this case of we should invest in a bachelorette home in Nashville. Show me that it's actually in demand. So here's a very, very good listing. This is the top bachelorette listing in Nashville. Again, there's not that many. And I think I showed you one that I personally didn't love just now, where this one I would say is a little bit more tacky. Just doesn't look as nice. It's got weird letters on a wall. Just not the vibe and not compared to what I was doing in Scottsdale. So this is one bachelorette home that I was looking at. This other home that's a little bit more Dolly Parton themed. Much nicer. It has there's not a rooftop view, but it has a little patio here and it's an attached townhome. So technically there's 2 bachelor homes next to each other that you can combine into an 8-bedroom property or 8-bedroom listing. So that's how I would look at this property. And I was like, okay, it's a bachelor home. Cool. But is it actually getting booked? So whenever you guys are looking in your comps, right, going through the Price Labs, take those URLs and put them into the competitor calendar right here. And now you're going to be able to see into the future what these listings are actually being booked for. Anywhere that you see a blue bubble, that's a night that's been booked. And anywhere you see a number underneath it, that's the rate it's been booked for. So if I see that this bachelor home is now being booked out in March for $1,500 an hour, or the individual listings are $700 an hour, I'm starting to get a little bit more confident, right? I'm going to the future, $3,000 a night, boom. I'm seeing the future, $4,000 a night. I'm going into March, $2,000 a night, $2,600 a night. Great. When I compare this to other cookie cutter Airbnbs, they're actually still empty because they don't get booked out in 30 nights before. But I know that this theme works because someone at some point said, I better book this Airbnb before it gets booked out because I don't want to miss out. So this applies for whatever market you guys are looking to invest in. If you're in Charlotte and you see that it's like a bohemian chic vibe or something like that, and it's being booked out for that market, cool. Now you know, hey, that's the vibe that people like when they go to the market. Similar for Nashville, I now have proof that Nashville bachelorette theme has a very, very high demand because I see this bachelor home being booked well into the future. this will similar apply, right? If you are in a family-friendly market and you see how many times what family is mentioned, then you should have like children's playground in there. You should have like child-proof drawers. Like you got to go all in and make it that like that is the place for families to go. You should have a pack and play. You should have those blackout shades for the babies to take a nap. Like we've all been parents before. Make it so easy that the parents would be silly to pass up on your home, and that's how you sell your home. You got to make it that obvious that they feel stupid passing on your home. You're literally making their stay so easy by offering a stroller or something like that, right? So it doesn't have to be a bachelorette theme. You guys can do this family theme, but you just got to highlight whatever those amenities are that makes your life easier as a parent. So here's a really, really good one. And the other reason I want to show you guys on Rank Breeze is if I told you that home made 275 grand, but you never looked at a calendar on Rank Breeze, you would have never picked this up, okay? So if you look at this calendar right here, it looks really, really fully booked, but it wasn't like 3 months ago. But if you look at the calendar well into the future, you start noticing in November and October, you see this trend. This person's blocked up every single Wednesday on their calendar. All right. Remember what we talked about? This flows in as revenue now. So right then and there, I do not assume that this home will make $275,000. I'm going to assume it makes at least $225,000. I need to take off $50,000 right away, assuming $1,000 a night for each Wednesday night has been booked off for. Everybody follow me? I hope that makes sense. But this is why you can get caught with very, very overestimated numbers and thinking something's a good deal if you don't actually look into the detail there. This is not meant to give you analysis paralysis. This is actually meant to give you more confidence because you know what you're doing now. Okay, I don't want you guys to feel like, oh, I got analysis paralysis. Like, no, just it's hard to find good investments with good yield. Like it's meant to be hard. If it was easy, everybody would be multimillionaires in the world. You got to do some work here, and this is the part where.
Show me one more time. How can you see that that's blocked off by them for a Wednesday versus book?
There's no way bachelorettes book just a Wednesday night for a trip.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, there's just no way. I know bachelorettes, they typically stay Thursday through Sundays. But yeah, think about it. How often do you get one Wednesday night booking that well into the future? Like no one's planning a Tuesday through a Wednesday night to Thursday trip. No one does that. It's just not common behavior, I would say. So. All right, so I wanted to go through that, and then I'll even show you guys how I'm analyzing a deal right now, because this is a live deal. I'm not making it up. I'm literally analyzing this property with you guys right now because I'm actually sending this out to investors. So having gone through all that process, right, I kind of stumbled into a property. It's in Nashville, Tennessee. This property was actually a new build. So just something for you guys to be aware in Nashville. Nashville is no longer issuing short-term rental permits in any residential zones in Nashville. What that means is you can only buy properties in commercial zones and turn them into short-term rentals specifically. Now, I kind of came across this property because like original was overpriced, but here's what happened. They had a hedge fund that had 10 of these 14 units. They are all new build, new construction. And they were locked up at $1,075,000. I think that's $1,075,000, right? Yeah, $1,075,000 to $1,025,000. And they did not finish new construction because obviously they were too optimistic about the new build timelines. They actually had to, they got bailed by the hedge fund probably because they want to get bonus depreciation for the end of the year. And they now have 10 units on the market that's just sitting, probably collecting like $6,000 of holding costs per unit. So even though they were under contract for $1,025,000, they already dropped it down to I think like 999, I think 1 million, or 920 to 975 to 999. So still too high for me based on that 20% rule I was telling you guys about. But having known that this property was about 170 for each 4x4 unit, that's how I figured, okay, I need to be closer to around like 850, maybe a top to 900. And now they're actually starting to listen to my offers for 900. They're like, hey, maybe we could put it into writing. I can push my sellers because it's just been sitting there, right? So this is actually where some opportunities are presenting itself. No one anticipated for these new builds, the interest rate is going to get jacked up so fast, so quickly. So now they're offering like, hey, maybe we just want to sell this for $920 on paper and give you an $18,000 credit so you can buy down the interest rates. And now all of a sudden you have a much more favorable term, because I would have never bought this. Even though I knew the bachelorette theme was going to work, the purchase price was still a little too high for me. So I wouldn't have done it. But now that I see that East Nashville is completely gentrifying, where I see that Oracle, one big tech company from Silicon Valley, they actually just bought this entire land to turn it into their second headquarters.
Wow.
Downtown Nashville is right here. Like, if this doesn't scream path of progress, I don't know what does. And this Airbnb is right here, like literally in the path of progress. So in my opinion, after kind of running through the numbers, I'll show you guys this just so you guys are aware. I'll show you guys. Let's see. I pull this up.
Okay, that's a great learning point. You looked at a property, did all the underwriting, saw that it was priced too high for really what you want. You still, I guess, a whisper offered back to the realtor and said, hey, if it come down to this point, let's talk.
Let
And
me
of course,
know.
at the time, they
Exactly.
say no, but they know you're interested. You just have to put that number back out there. You do all the work, give that number to the realtor, make that offer to the client. It may fall on deaf ears now, but it's out there. Let it season. It might come back around. They go, boy, 2-3 months later, go, where's that offer that we had? But if you don't, if you look at it and go, boy, it's just too expensive, delete the file, right? Move on to the next. All that work was for nothing.
That's right. And that's okay. And what I then did was, like, I looked at this property and I said, okay, I showed you guys just those bachelorette homes in Nashville. I literally went through Brainfreeze. I put in all the numbers, all the data that's been booked. And I basically said, okay, what does Price Labs think that these four individual units can make? Because my goal is actually to buy 2 of them, because I think it's actually less risky to have 2 versus 1, because now you can have a booking that's in the top 1% of the Nashville starting out. So you can always be the person to offer what this Dolly home is doing. So you can book 1 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, or you can book the 8-bedroom, 7-bath all together. And now you can have a bigger group kind of hanging out together, and you don't have to worry about who you're going to cut away or cut off the bachelorette trip anymore. Boom. That makes a lot of sense.
The one building, you create 2, but actually you end up with 3 listings.
Exactly. And what I then did was, like, hey, I looked at the Price Labs number. I was like, okay, Price Labs says this home made 168, this home made 178. I'm going to be conservative, and I'm going to take 10% off of that right now and see where I end up in. So that leads me to between 150 to 160 as a gross revenue estimate. Obviously, I have my upside and stuff like that. You can run through your scenarios and say, like, well, what if all 3 nights are booked right now based on the rates? It can get to 173 or 167. That makes me feel pretty good about those numbers, because I'm actually using future data now, right, guys? Like, I'm not using historical data. I'm getting ready to get really serious about this deal. So I want to look at future data and spend the time here, right? I've already gone through the progressions of rental demand, is illegal, where are my comps, what do I need? I know I need to have rooftop views of the Nashville skyline, and I have a hot tub on the top deck. So that helps me book out during the slow season in the winter, where nobody else has a really reason to come to Nashville, but at least they have a hot tub and they can hang out on a rooftop and look at the Nashville skyline view. So something that gives me a competitive advantage, those are the properties that naturally attract me towards it. Okay, let me close this tab so continue to speed everything up.
Okay, there's a comment here. Can you explain the 20% rule one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you see that a property is making $100,000 in gross revenue, you want to pay a maximum purchase price of 5 times that revenue. So a really good example of here is, like, well, I'm looking at a home that's going to make $175,000. You multiply that by 5, you really want to be around $875,000. If it's close to that, it makes sense. It's really just for you to rule out properties quickly and not waste any time. But if it's close to that, you can probably take a closer look at it. In my experience, what I did with the first home in Scottsdale was, like, I want to pick a high appreciating market. Cash on cash is awesome, right? But we all know the real wealth is in appreciation. That's where the real wealth is. My first home, we bought it for $800,000. We put $126,000 into it in Scottsdale. and then we got a reappraise at 1.15 million. So we gained $350,000 of equity in less than 8 months in a high appreciating market like Scottsdale. I was able to pull all that money back out and pay back all my investors. And then now we're just in that property that I was just showing you guys, like we have no money in that deal left anymore. It's infinite return, infinite cash on cash return as of right now. But that's what appreciation does for you. And that's why I really like this deal, because if I can find an area where it's gonna cash flow healthily and there's appreciation potential, I really like those kind of deals. Your criteria might be very different. You might say, I need tomorrow money, so I need the highest cash on cash right now, right away, so I can quit my job, whatever your goal might be. I'm in this for the long haul, and if I can find a property that I know exactly how to distribute it, meaning I know how to sell the home, like I feel really good about that marketing strategy. So in this property here, like I just want to run through some numbers with you guys. And this is where the difference between long-term rentals and short-term rentals really come into play. You might be using Rentometer or whatever it is to look for market rents. I just showed you guys exactly how to get to the gross revenue number. That is the most important revenue number for all of you guys. So you're going to have your revenue. Obviously, you have your taxes, your insurance. I put $65,000 to furnish this home. That's how much I spent on my first home. But general rule of thumb, just assume like $10,000 a bedroom. Just a general rule of thumb. Like obviously, depending on how themed out your property needs to be, whether you want to have custom murals like I do have at my home, so that girls can have like a really cool backdrop for the group photos, so they can take home and cherish those photos forever. Like I think that's worth it, hands down, any day, because people just take away photos from their weekends, right? That's really the biggest memories. Remodeling costs, I got my own rehab calculator where I go through every single little line item so that I can figure out like, hey, if the roof needs a repair, if I need to paint the exterior, what does that look like? What does the garage door cost? What does a new deck look like? What does the pool heater run? Just very general stuff. This is based off like Seattle and Scottsdale market prices. So you guys might be in a cheaper market and these numbers will be off. But these are just the guiding principles, right? All that to say, that's the rehab calculator, and you want to make sure you just have all your expenses. You want to make sure you have your cleaning fees in there to make sure you're deducting them appropriately. I always use a third-party bookkeeper because I have partners, so I want them to know that someone else is looking at the numbers every single month. I don't care that it makes less money. It's worth it to me that they have a peace of mind that someone else is looking at the books every month and producing those financials for my partners. Utilities, you got to have those admin fees. Don't forget, if you create an LLC, like it costs like $1,000 to make one. It costs like annual fees to file it. Don't forget about those admin fees, because that really can drain your cash flow if it's not high enough. So that's why for me, I personally would never invest in like smaller homes, because I know how much administrative overhead there is. And sometimes people just forget about that stuff. So that's why I always like to play to win, right? I need a lot of revenue to offset a lot of these costs, even though I might be a little conservative with all this stuff, but that's okay. You should always have a property management fee here. Typically, investors will pay property management companies anywhere from 10's the lowest I've ever seen, but usually from like 15 to 25% for a short-term rentals property manager. In long-term rentals, you might be closer to like 3 to 5 for multifamily. You might be closer to 8 to 10 or even 12 for long-term rentals, but short-term rentals generally have a much higher percentage of property management fee there. So something for you guys to keep in touch of, on top of. And honestly, that just, it all just rolls out to a number. And I know that when I talk to you guys, like I play around with occupancy to get to my scenarios. If I'm at a $157,000, which in my mind is a conservative number, and I'm still hitting 10% and I get all this appreciation potential, I love that deal. Absolutely, absolutely love it. And then my high scenario is about $170,000, which I think is actually very achievable. Gets me to closer around 14% cash on cash return. So to me, this is a great deal. If I get 10 to 14% cash on cash and I get all the appreciation potential being in a high appreciating market like East Nashville, that feels really, really good to me. And obviously just based on whatever down payment and interest rates that you guys kind of play out to. So that's how I underwrite a property. I can send the spreadsheet out to you guys too, so you guys can look at it and play around with it. Like I'm not trying to keep everything to myself. Again, I told all you guys, my goal is to help you guys make as much money as possible so that you guys can invest in affordable housing. You don't even need to invest in affordable housing with me. Just buy one. I don't care. The wait list for me when I was in affordable housing was 7 years. It's now 12, 15 years. So just imagine if you you had a kid and you're just trying to get out of the ghetto with a projects and you're in a high crime area, like 12 to 15 years is too late, in my opinion. So it's not something I am willing to accept. And I really, really want to do something about it. That's why I care so much about affordable housing. Deanna, you had a question about favorite property management company. I would always recommend you actually manage on your own. Here's why. You will get okay property management companies every once in a while, but I think they will erode your margins heavily. But at the same time, your property management company is going to have very different incentives compared to you. Their job is to get you booked out as far as possible, whatever, even if it's a lower rate, they want you to be booked out because they need predictability in their cash flows because they have employees to pay. Very different incentive than compared to what you're going to do to hustle for your own property. Like for me, for bachelorette homes, I want to make sure I have a different distribution channel, meaning I need to have lead sources coming from different areas for my bachelorette homes. So I team up with local bachelorette party decorating services, so I can be one of the top or preferred areas to stay. So this website, Scottsdale Bachelorette, they get like 100,000 unique visitors a year to their website, and I'm on one of their preferred places to stay. You need this for your home. Some people talk about creating a direct booking website. This is what you should do for bachelorette homes. You need to work with people that are decorating or planning bachelorette parties and get on their list. So for me, I already learned this lesson for Scottsdale. Now I'm going to work with Batch Babes in Nashville, and I already talked to the girls. Like, she's like, if I'm a partner, I will get the home filled out every single weekend, because she gets, last year she did 600 bachelorette decorating services at Airbnbs. And they all asked, where should they stay? You don't think that she's going to tell them to stay at her own place? That's how you mitigate the risk of your short-term rental investment. Don't just do something and throw it up there and hope for the best. You got to work towards it. It is your own business, and you need to think about, how am I going to make it successful? I have learned this bachelorette niche very well, and I just feel like if I just stick with this niche, I'm just going to keep getting luckier and luckier because of my experience kind of built up here. So I've taught you guys everything I know about bachelorette. You guys can definitely be very successful here if you guys go for this crowd. I'm giving it all away. I didn't hold anything back, and I hope you guys, I know we're getting towards time. I hope you guys reach out to me if you guys have questions. I also hope you guys can please subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a comment on that interview I did with Alvin. Alvin is a big shot, and he's very well known in the affordable housing space, but he came on and shared all those secrets about how to use tax exempt bonds to fund new construction for affordable housing. This is knowledge that nobody really talks about. No one writes a book about this stuff. I just want to thank him. So if you're trying to thank me, just help me thank him so I can continue bringing all this knowledge to the rest of you guys, so that you guys can consider whether or not you guys want to invest in affordable housing in the future. So please subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a comment. That's all I'm really asking for my time today. And hopefully this was helpful for everyone. Like, don't lose money. That's the number one thing. Use the data, come up with a strategy, and let me know if you guys have any questions.
This group's all about making money. So they're all out there trying to learn from experts like you. So we do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Kent, this has been awesome. My eyes
Yeah.
have just been completely, I'm just blown away. Just awesome.
Hey, Kent, this is Cindy asking for another favor.
Oh, okay.
Would you come back on and teach us all about affordable housing? Because I know very little about it, only from what you have taught me and talked about, only actually what you talked to me about. But I would love it if you would come back on and share your knowledge on affordable housing and how we can partner and get into it.
Yeah, that would be super cool. I love that. It's not as sexy as short-term rentals. It's gonna be nothing that
I
looks
know.
like what I just did, though. But yeah, happy to do that at some point. And I think Pace and I already talked, like, I can probably do something in the Sub 2 Zoom vault about affordable housing too, so we can have something in there for everyone to kind of learn about that too. So we can make it a bigger group meeting and kind of do everything at once. But
Yeah, this is not Sub 2, so these are.
I know.
Yeah, okay. So, but yeah, that'd be great if you would at some point come back on and talk to us about affordable housing. I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, sounds good. So thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I really appreciate the feedback. And Roberto, you asked me for my information. Just please DM me on Instagram. Don't DM me on Facebook. I'm only on there like max once a day, so I'm really slow about getting back to people. I just got to be able to focus my time on one platform. Otherwise, I'm going to be all over the place. So Instagram is the best place to DM me. And I can give you my phone number, whatever you guys want to get on phone. And then please subscribe to my YouTube. That's what I care most about. That's where I'm trying to give the most education to people about affordable housing. And again, I'm just so passionate about it. Like, we can help millions of people, guys. And just remember, right? No one's legacy really lasts forever. But if we help enough people, they will in turn help our kids and our grandkids and their grandparents who are not here anymore. I don't care about generational wealth. They say generational wealth only lasts about 3 generations. So you must help as many people as possible so that they will pay it forward and help your family line down the path. So yeah, I'm so passionate about it. I'm so jazzed about talking about that stuff. Short-term rentals is cool. I'll help you guys make some money from short-term rentals, but affordable housing is where it's at. And it's just, you can do good while feeling good while making money. So thank you, everybody, for your time. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You could have spent your hour with anybody else, and I feel very blessed that you guys spent it with me.
We feel blessed that you shared it with us. So thank you very much.
Love it.
Yeah. Thank you,
Any
Kat.
other questions from folks? If not, you can just DM me.
Mhm.
Just because it's my passion too. And in your last spreadsheet, I'm a numbers geek, so I'm looking at your numbers. You put on there. I think the cash on that project was somewhere just over $100,000. How are you funding that? Are you getting PML? Are you looking for private money lenders for every deal?
As my kids are laughing as I'm talking about it. I don't know why she's laughing so much. He's like, "You're a joke, Dad." I'm just kidding. Sorry, guys. So for my last deal, I'll be very transparent. So my last deal I did in Scottsdale required about $250,000. I put in $50,000 of my own money, and my partners put in 200 grand, and they took the loan out under their name because I was already maxed out on my debt to income ratio. Now, how I made it fair for them is like, these are friends that I've been friends with since like 8th grade. So I'm not trying to have one over them. So I said, basically, for the first $75,000 of cash flow that would have went to me based on a 50-50 partnership, it goes back to my partners first so that we can catch back up to $125,000 each to become 50-50 partners. So that's what I did with them. And I just charge a 10% management fee for my time and dealing with all these check-ins and checkouts and early checkout requests. So that's kind of like my deal with them. I don't charge a very high management fee because I want to make sure there's enough meat on the bones left for them to make money. And that's how I make it fair. They put in most of the money. I don't want them to feel like I don't have any skin in the game. Put some skin in the game. And then also said, let me help you get your money back first, because that's how I raise private capital, because I want them to invest with me on affordable housing. They just asked me, please make it sustainable. So I said, I'll make you money in short-term rentals, and please let's use some of that money to fund affordable housing. And that's how I'm able to kind of develop a portfolio strategy that can raise private capital for, and also provides a diversified portfolio for my partners at the same time. So that's how I did it.
Genius.
And
Great.
I just want to make sure it's a long-term relationship, right? You guys could look for a private money lender, but everybody wants equity, right, guys? Like, everybody wants equity. So just give it. And as long as you guys are philosophically aligned about how you make decisions, for me, I tell them exactly what, how I make decisions, and make sure that we're philosophically aligned. Like, hey, we are always going to do whatever is necessary to get that 5-star review. Like, that is the priority. That protects our investment way more than a $200 credit here for like a clogged shower or something like that. Like, it's not worth it. Give them $200, because if, imagine you're staying at the Ritz and something happened. You want to feel like they hurt you. Just give them a little money, buy them lunch, and you get the 5-star review. And now you continue to see this progression of this pricing power you get on your listing. That's what's most important. That's what's more important. Don't nickel and dime and don't look too close. And it's just like, my partners and I always say, when in doubt, we're going to invest a little bit more and spend a little bit more money to make the post look nicer. So just make sure you guys are working with the partners that you're comfortable in how you guys are making decisions and how you guys are addressing problems when they come up. Because I tell my partners, like, hey, look, I'm not going to ask you any questions if the expense is under $1,500, because in my heart, I'm going to do whatever it takes to protect our investment and get that 5-star review. And you just got to trust me. If it's anything more than that, I'll text them. But you can't be so bogged down when you're dealing with an emergency and texting your partners like, hey, is it okay if I spend $500 on the plumber? It will never work. So it'll be too much headache. But
And there's been a
that's my
couple of, there's been a couple of requests for the Excel.
yeah,
workbook.
for sure.
You share that with Cindy and she can be the point of contact there.
For sure.
Appreciate
I'll send
it.
to Cindy and then I'll have Cindy forward to everybody else.
Yeah.
Now, hey, Kent, I got another question.
Go for it.
So in any of your projects that you work with other investors on, do you set up another LLC for that particular property and then a separate bank account and you're all joint members and such? Okay.
Absolutely. I
Got it.
want my partners to always feel like they have access to the bank accounts, and I want my partners to always know what's going in and out of the bank accounts. This is not a Bernie Madoff like Ponzi scheme. Like they need to they all have the logins and they are all on the LLC's paperwork as registered owners with their percentages on each of the things. So it costs more
Gotcha.
money. That's why it is not worth it to buy like a teeny like
Yeah.
Airbnb and do all this administrative stuff. It's like $2,000 for an LLC, like $600 to file your LLC every year, and 800 grand in California. That erodes your cash flow really, really quick. So you don't have a good cushion. It's
Yeah.
not worth it. That's why I like this bachelorette team. It's like these ladies, they spend all their days outside their home. They have very little wear and tear. They generally plan their days and the trips out very, very well. So they're not like a bachelor party. I've done a bachelor party, and the first weekend that they did it, I saw it from their home. Like there were like trash everywhere, pizza boxes everywhere, not cleaning up for themselves. It's exactly what I expected, but I knew that the theme worked. Like I had a poker table with like 2 TVs over 2 TVs. It looked super, super cool. And
I think of
I know
The
how to attract
Hangover. I think of the movie The Hangover. I don't want a tiger or chickens running loose.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like no, not even doubting it. That absolutely happened. Any other questions from folks? I'm here for I got another
Yeah.
10 minutes. You guys do have any questions?
Someone asked, how can they invest with you in affordable housing?
I will reach out to you. If you DM me, I'll definitely talk to you more about it, because I am looking for folks that I have a lot of teams right now looking for creative finance deals for single family homes and affordable housing, but I am also raising capital for multi-family projects for affordable housing. So if you're really interested, just DM me and I'll get on a one-on-one with you and just talk through different options of how you guys can get involved.
Any particular areas?
North Carolina, South Carolina, and then in Ohio. And then I'm also looking at 5 zip codes in Detroit specifically, because I know exactly which streets are good and safe, and I have a very, very good property manager there that will handle screening of all the tenants and everything. And Detroit, because they actually have the highest per capita of government funding for affordable housing in the United States. So more so than California and New York, which you might not have expected. But remember, governments, they will pay their rent on time no matter what, their portion on time every single month. And even during COVID, they kept paying their rent. So I love that strategy. It makes me sleep at night versus any other long-term rentals that, especially when there was an eviction moratorium, like landlords kind of got the bad end of that stick. So I love that strategy.
On the softwares that you showed tonight, AirDNA, Rank Breeze,
Yep.
and
Pricelabs.co.
Price Labs. How much are those? Are those all pay per use softwares?
AirDNA Co is free for that rent to
Okay.
demand number. Okay. Anyone can sign an account. In fact, what you guys should all do tonight is go type in wherever you live, just put in AirDNA and look at the rent to demand. Boom, one step further. You took one step towards analyzing getting on the market. Then make sure it's legal, obviously, or not. And then if you guys want, go to pricelabs.co and assuming the rental demand is there, and it's about $10 to $20 a market, depending on how many listings are in that market. Plug in your home address and just pay $10 and say, if I hover around my listings near my home within like a 20-kilometer radius, what can I expect to make? If you guys do that tonight, you guys will have a much better understanding, like, okay, if a home within my neighborhood drops below this amount of dollars, maybe it might work for short-term rental. I encourage all of you guys to do that tonight. Boom. And now, boom, that's one market under your belt, and you're gonna feel way more confident already. I'm just talking about just doing baby steps, and then you guys are gonna learn a lot more just by doing that tonight.
Excellent. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Nothing happens unless you take action, right?
No, and I want you guys to do it. I don't want this to just be a speech I made for you. Just learn something, and you guys will feel way more confident about it. Just please take what I taught you, and even if you have no properties yourself, I promise you what I showed you tonight is enough to wow people to get them to want to invest with you. I'm showing you guys how to raise capital. This is the best way for them to know you can spot a deal. That's way more important, because the next time they're gonna be like, oh yeah, next time you see a deal, let me know, because I already went through this process with you. So I trust Kent, or I trust Deanna that she knows a deal when she spots a deal, because I already seen her do that process. You can literally do what I just did with Nashville, and they were like, oh, that's good enough. You literally don't have to do anything new. Just watch this replay, go talk to a friend and family, and just show them, hey, this is how I look at deals, and they're gonna be like, that is so cool. That's it. Please do it. Please take action. Please make my time worth it. Please make a lot of money so you can invest in affordable housing. All right.
Again,
Any other questions for folks?
we greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Night, guys. Thanks.
To everybody.
Thanks again for coming. Appreciate you.